Good evening. Today I will explain about what are the main functions of the glands and how it is related with the behavior. So this is an important part, that is the endocrine glands and all the other glands that are involved. So in this glands and behavior, uh, the first unit, that is the unit 6, it covers with the endocrine system. And this endocrine system, it consists of number of hormones. And what are these hormones, or understanding these hormones, the functions of these hormones, as well as the endocrine glands, the name of the endocrine glands or the types of endocrine glands. That means it covers the pituitary gland, the anterior, the as well as the posterior pituitary gland, that is the neurohypophysis, and the adrenohypophysis pituitary. And after that, the antidiuro hormone, that is the ADH, then oxytocin, then what are the adrenal glands, the name of them, some adrenal glands, as well as the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the pineal gland, pancreas, as well as the gonads. So this is a very important chapter, as all the functions of the glands and how they are related with the behavior, this is included in this unit. Now, understanding hormones is, that means we have already discussed about the neurons, about the cerebral hemispheres, the brain lateralizations, etc., in the previous units. Now, in this unit, mainly how or what are the types of glands are included. So all of these mechanisms is very fast, that we have already seen. And it affects the neurons, and that are in immediate proximity to the originating neuron. Now similarly, there are other structures like the glands, which actually secrete some chemicals in our body. And due to this secretion of these chemicals, the behavior of our brain or any type of behavior are controlled also by these types of chemical secretion that are secreted from these hormones. Now there are two types of glands mainly. Now, number one, it is the endocrine glands and the exocrine glands. Now, the glands that affect the behavior are known as the endocrine glands. Whereas, there are glands that do not affect the behavior, and like the salivary gland, like the sweat gland. So, these are the exocrine gland. Now, exocrine glands are glands with ducts, and chemicals are released into ducts. So, on the other hand, the endocrine glands are ductless and secrete chemicals directly into the bloodstream when stimulated. Now, this pineal gland uh, is situated in the brain, just between the where there is a hypothalamus and the thalamus. Then the thyroid gland is situated in the neck region. Then this thyroid, after this thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, that is situated mainly in the just above the kidney. Now after this adrenal glands comes the another important gland, that is a pancreas. It is situated just after the stomach region. So it is a small gland, and it secretes some juice which are actually useful for digestion. After this, another gland is the uterus gland. This is for female, and ovaries for female, as well as testes for the male. So these are the main glands of our body. So the chemicals that are secreted by the endocrine glands are known as the hormones. So the word hormone is actually derived from the Greek word that is hormone, that is HORMAEIN, which means to excite. Now these are those chemicals that are secreted directly into the bloodstream by certain specialized cells. Now, the effect of hormones are slow and persist for a longer period of time. Now, the hormones can be classified into mainly tropic hormones. That means tropic means able to stimulate or change something when they have to perform or more generalized functions. Whereas the steroid hormone, now these steroid hormones are made up of cholesterol, that is one type of fat molecule, and secreted from gonads, that is the testis in male and ovaries in female. Now, non-steroid hormones are another type of hormones that are amino acids, peptides, or complete proteins. Now, the secretion of hormones is controlled by a negative feedback loop that tends to reverse any deviation from the set point value that maintains homeostasis. Now, what are the main functions of hormones? Let us see. Now, there are certain general rules about the way the hormone functions in the body. So, we must understand that the hormones are not involved in any biological processes. Rather, they tend to regulate the processes that are already going on in the body. Now, they are produced in response to the changing internal bodily environment, and so hormones act very slowly on the body. So various environmental or internal factors influence the release of hormones. Now, there are varying time periods during which the hormones work. And for example, some are secreted regularly in 24 hours, while some follow the lunar, that is a 28-day cycle. Now, so these are the main functions of hormones. Then come to the major gland, that is the endocrine gland. Now, endocrine gland, it includes the pituitary gland. Now, this pituitary gland is also referred as the master gland because it controls other glands as well as other organs of the body. So, most of its hormones are tropic hormones, and the pituitary gland is a small structure weighing about 0.5 grams. Now, this pituitary gland, after this pituitary gland is the anterior or the types of pituitary gland. It includes the anterior adenohypophysis pituitary that I told you. Now, this anterior part of this pituitary gland is known as adenohypophysis, and it is composed of the glandular tissues. Now, this the hypothalamus, which is a part of the brain, we have already studied while we have studied the structures of brain. The hypothalamus, it regulates the secretions of the adenohypophysis, and hence, even though pituitary gland is known as the master gland, it is controlled by the hypothalamus. Now, this hypothalamus, it secretes the hormones into the hypothalamus pituitary portal system and regulates the hormone secretion through the negative feedback mechanisms. Now, this adrenocorticotropic hormone, it is one type of this anterior or adenohypophysis pituitary, and it is abbreviated as ACTH. Now, what is the function of this hormone? It mainly controls the release of hormones of the adrenal cortex, which releases the steroid hormone. Now, after this adrenocorticotropic hormone, the next one is the melanocyte stimulating hormone, and it is abbreviated as MSH. Now, then what is the function of this hormone? This stimulates the production of melanocytes in the skin, which tends to darken the skin. Number 3 is the thyroid stimulating hormone, and it is a very well-known disease or mainly problem of the females. So it is abbreviated as TSH. Now, it promotes the growth and development of the thyroid gland and release of thyroid hormones known as thyroxine. Now, this luteinizing stimulating hormone, that is abbreviated as LH, it stimulates the formation and activity of the corpus luteum of ovary. Now, it stimulates the release of eggs from the ovary in females and prepares the uterine lining for the implantation of a fertilized egg. Now, so this is number 4 hormonal type. Now, after this is the follicle stimulating hormone. Now, in the previous one, let me tell you what is progesterone then. This progesterone, it is produced primarily by the corpus luteum of the ovary in normally menstruating women and to a lesser extent of the adrenal cortex. Whereas the testosterone, it is primarily a male sex hormone. However, women's ovaries also make testosterone, but in much smaller amounts. So it plays a vital role in sex drive of males and development of their reproductive tissues such as testis and prostate. Now, number 5 hormone is the follicle stimulating hormone, that is abbreviated as FSH. Now, this stimulates secretion of estrogen and maturation of ovum in females and sperm production in males. So, it influences the growth and maintenance of the gonads, that is the ovaries and the testis in female and males respectively. Now, number 6 is the prolactin. Now, prolactin is also abbreviated as PRL. So, it is also called as the lactogenic hormone, as it initiates and promotes milk production in female mammals. Now, obviously, hyposecretion of this PRL is generally of no significance, whereas hypersecretion of this PRL may cause non-nursing women to lactate and also disrupt the menstrual cycle. Number 7 is the growth hormone, that is abbreviated as GH. Now, from the name itself, it means that this hormone is it is also known as somatotropin hormone. So, the another name of this growth hormone is somatotropin hormone or STH, and it influences the growth of the cells and tissues all over the body. This GH is released during some stages of sleep, and it promotes the growth of bones, the muscles, and the other tissues of the body. Now, during the growing years, this hypersecretion of this GH, it causes an extraordinary skeletal growth, producing a condition known as gigantism. That means very large, long. That is gigantism. And this also causes the formation of the new bones, making the body disfigured with large hands, large feet, large jaws, etc. And this is known as acromegaly. Just the opposite is the dwarfism. So if during growing years the GH is secreted in quantity that is less than what is desired or hyposecreted, so it results in reduced of growth that leads to dwarfism, just the opposite of gigantism. Now, so this was the important hormones. Now the posterior pituitary, that is the neurohypophysis, it composed of some neural tissues. So the main hormones released are the antidiuretic hormone, that is ADH, or vasopressin and oxytocin. So these are some of the important hormones. And this ADH, that is the antidiuretic hormone, is also known as vasopressin. Its main function is to help the body to retain water and regulates the sodium level in the blood. So in other words, it prevents the loss of water from the body through large urine volume. So it helps the tubules of the kidney to reabsorb water from the excess amounts of urine that is formed to be excreted. Now, after this, another important is the oxytocin. So this word is derived from the Greek word oxys, that means rapid, and tokos means childbirth. So this oxytocin OT, this initiates the contraction of this uterine muscles. So the injection of OT are given to induce labor and to speed up childbirth. So it also promotes lactation and ensures successful nursing. After this, another important gland is the adrenal gland. These adrenal glands are placed like a cover on top of each kidney. Renal is a Latin word that means kidney, and ad is a Latin word for two, TO2, which means to or on the kidney. Now they have two parts: the outer covering, which is major part of the gland, and it is known as adrenal cortex, and is made up of endocrine tissue. The inner part of the gland is also known as the adrenal medulla, and it is made up of some neurosecretory tissues. After this is the adrenal cortex. Now this adrenal cortex, it secretes mainly the corticosteroids as mineral ocotacodides or glucocorticoids and gonadocorticoids. Then comes the mineralocorticoid, and it regulates the processing of the mineral salts, that is the electrolytes in the body. Then this glucocorticoids, it is the main glucocorticoid which released by the adrenal cortex and is known as the cortisol, along with cortisone and corticosteroid. This glucocorticoids, they actually speed up the breakdown of proteins into amino acids. And again, there is two conditions, that is the hyperglycemia and the hypoglycemia, just the opposite of it. Now, what happens in the hyperglycemia? If there is excess amount of these glucocorticoids in the blood, then it tends to initiate tissue loss or protein loss and causes this hyperglycemia. And the patient or the person, when there is a high level of blood glucose in the body, so this condition needs again medication. Now this after these glucocorticoids, the next one is the gonadocorticoids. Now this is a sex hormone. It released by the adrenal cortex and are known as gonadocorticoids. Now under normal conditions, this adrenal cortex, it releases both male hormones, that is the androgen, and the female hormone, that is the estrogen. But the quantity in which they are released is very small, so they do not produce any significant effects. That is, the level of androgens in female may only lead to the production of the body hair but not produce any masculine characteristics. This adrenal medulla, these hormones or the hormones secreted by this adrenal medulla are known as the catecholamines or catecholamines. They are non-steroid hormones. So we have already learned the steroid hormones, but this catecholamines, these are the non-steroid hormones. And the adrenal or the epinephrine is a major hormone secreted. The other hormone secreted is non-adrenaline or norepinephrine. This epinephrine and norepinephrine, they actually maintains the balance of the body. That means the homeostasis. And how it happens? they actually increases the effects on the sympathetic system. So we have already learned the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, the main divisions. So it is a sympathetic system. Now when the cortical hormones are hyper secreted, it leads to another syndrome. What is that? It is Cushing's syndrome. What happens? The fat gets deposited in the face, abdomen, shoulders instead of arms and legs. So face appears to be moon shaped. That means round. And the hypersecretion of this aldosterone causes this aldosteronism, which causes the water retention of the body and loss of potassium, causing muscle weakness or cramp. Now, when there is hypersecretion of this androgen, the level of male hormones in the blood, it increases in women. And this causes the male characteristics in women. Again, this hypersecretion of these mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids causes an increase in blood glucose and potassium level, dehydration, weight loss, causing Addison's disease. Now, this is all about the important glands. Now, the next important one is the thyroid gland. Now, this thyroid gland is made up of two lobes that are connected by an isthmus in the neck region. Now, it weighs about 30 gram in an average adult, and the gland has some follicles which are filled with this thyroid fluid. So it secretes the hormones as calcitonin, thyroxine, and triiodothyronine, that is T3. So you have already heard this T3, T4, TSH, that is the thyroid profile. And mainly the functions are the thyroid hormone, it regulates gene expression, metabolic processes, cell growth, and tissue differentiation. So the secretion of this thyroxine depends upon the temperature of the environment. When it is cold, then the secretion of thyroxine increases, while when it is warm, it reduces. Again, like other hormones, the hypersecretion of this thyroid gland or thyroid hormone or this hyperthyroidism produces a disease known as Graves' disease. This causes eyes to protrude, increase excitability, difficulty in sleeping, and inability to focus on a particular task. This condition may also cause some lot of weight loss, nervousness, and enhanced heartbeat. This condition can be taken care by surgically removing a part of the gland so as to reduce the production of thyroxine. Now, during the growing years, when there is the deficiency of thyroxine, that is hyposecretion in the body, it causes a condition known as cretinism. These cretins, they suffer from low metabolic rate, CNS, and other systems of the body are maldeveloped with retarded growth. Now, this in severe condition, what happen? It leads to dwarfism. That means the growth does not takes place properly like a normal human being. So, if hypothyroidism is detected early, then it can be rectified by injecting extra thyroxine, and cretinism can be avoided. So, it can be cured by injecting this hormone. Now, however, in adulthood, this hypothyroidism causes myxedema. What happens here? The metabolic rate reduces, mental and physical vigor also decreases, the skin becomes yellowish and pale, and there is gain in weight. Now, when the level of this iodine in the body is not sufficient, then there is a reduction in the release of thyroid hormones. This causes a swelling in the neck, producing a condition known as a goiter. And this is a very common disease mainly in the mountain areas where the diet lacks sufficient amount of iodine. Now next come this parathyroid gland. So the structure is the parathyroid gland, it lies above the thyroid gland, and there are 4 of them and are round in shape. They secrete a hormone known as parathyroid hormone, that is PTH or parathyronome. Hormone or para plus hormone, that is the parathormone. Now the functions of this hormone mainly is to regulate the calcium level, the phosphorus level, and the vitamin D in the blood. It works opposite to calcitonin, and it regulates the calcium homeostasis by acting on the bloodstream and maintains an optimum level of this calcium in the body. This then facilitates the functions of neurons, the skeletal muscles, and acts on the bone, kidney, and the intestinal cells. Now this parathyroid hormone, it activates vitamin D in the body, which helps in absorbing the calcium that is available in the food we eat or the milk we actually drink. So there are many sources of this vitamin D, such as from the food we eat, exposing our skin to the sunlight, which is in abundance in tropical countries like India, and the interaction between this parathyroid hormone and calcium is important for healthy survival, neuromuscular action, clotting of the blood, and permeability of the cell membrane. Now this hyposecretion of this parathyroid hormone, it causes the hypocalcemia, which produces irritability, muscle spasms, and convulsions. In childhood, if there is an extreme deficiency of vitamin D, then the calcium becomes very low. So it causes risk, and the child may have rickets, that is weak bones. On the other hand, when this parathyroid hormone is produced in excess of what is required, that is, there is hypersecretion, then also it leads to too much calcium in the body, which causes the bone disease known as osteitis or fibrocystica. Then comes the pineal gland. It is also known as epiphysis. The structure is, it is a small gland, very small structure, and is in shape of a cone. It is placed on top of the brainstem, and this gland is not a paired gland like other glands. So it is a single gland. The functions, it includes the hormone released by pineal gland, is known as melatonin. Now this regulates the biological clock of the body, which controls our sleeping, waking, eating, reproductive cell in women, and some other behaviors. This pineal gland does not secrete the melatonin in sunlight. This tends to influence a person's mood. It keeps track of length of days and seasons. For example, in seasonal affective disorder SAD, the patient suffers from severe depression during winters. As days are small in winters, so there is less daylight, and as a result, the reduction in this production of this melatonin, and when there is a jet lag, then this melatonin is also used to treat it. After this, another important hormone is the gland is the pancreas. The structure, it mainly lies near the stomach and the small intestine, and it is a long gland about 12 centimeters long and weighs about 100 grams. It is made up of small cells known as islets of Langerhans. So these cells are joined together by gap junctions, and there are different kinds of these pancreatic cells. What are they? The capital A cell or alpha cell, it secretes the hormones glucogen or glucagon, and the beta cells, that is the B cells, it produces the insulin. Whereas the delta cell or the capital D cells, it secretes the somatostatin. The pancreatic polypeptide cells, they secretes the pancreatic polypeptides. Then what are, so these are the main structures of this pancreas. Now the functions, it includes the alpha cells, it produce the glucagon, which converts the glucogen into glucose in the blood. It sometimes increases the blood glucose level. And this somatostatin that is produced by the delta cells, it regulates some cells of the pancreatic islets. and it mainly inhibits the secretion of this growth hormone like glucagon, insulin, pancreatic polypeptide, etc. The beta cells, it produces the insulin which helps to lower the blood glucose level and produce or promotes mainly the metabolism, etc. Now, when an inadequate or abnormally low level of this insulin is produced, it causes diabetes. In hyperglycemia, the glucose is unable to enter the cells normally, and this increases the level of this glucose in the blood. And this produces a condition known as the glycosuria, and the extra sugar is released out through urine. This may cause a condition where the frequency of urine production increases, and that is polyuria. This happens because the body needs more water to throw out the excess glucose. When too much water is excreted, the body becomes dehydrated and the person feels very thirsty all the time throughout the day. This condition is known as polydipsia. When the blood sugar level is high, the body also feels hungrier, and this condition is known as polyphagia or polyphagia. Another name for this diabetes is diabetes mellitus. Now, when this diabetes is not treated properly, it may cause a condition known as diabetic ketoacidosis, which leads to pain in the abdomen, nausea, coma, and if not treated, then it can also lead to death. Hereditary factors play a very important key role in this development of this diabetes mellitus. Now, there are two types of diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes mellitus is a serious disorder that occurs early in adolescence, about 11 to 13 years, and since beta cells are destroyed, there is deficiency in insulin level. This increases the blood glucose level and the body dehydrates. This affects the kidneys, the eyes, and there is reduced functions of the peripheral nerves. The patient has to take injections of insulin to prevent this ketosis and control hyperglycemia. Now, type 2 diabetes mellitus is little less serious from diabetes that occurs after the age of 40. Now, the insulin produced by the body is adequate, but somehow it is not able to maintain the blood glucose level. So, the treatment involves changes in eating behavior, diet, and regular exercise. So, about 90% of all diabetics suffer from this disorder. Gain in body weight makes one susceptible to it. If this diabetes is left untreated, then it may cause heart attack, decrease blood circulation to the extremities, causing the tingling sensation, problems in vision as well as kidney disease or renal failure. Then comes the gonads. So the structure mainly it is the primary sex organs, that is the gonads, and in males they are testes and in females they are ovaries. Now both have different structures and produce their own hormones. These testes are paired organs having a sac called the scrotum. It produces hormones known as the testosterone and androgen. The ovaries are also a pair of glands that are located in the pelvis of a female, pelvis region of the female. They produce the sex hormones as estrogens and progestins. Then what are the functions of this gland? The hormones which are secreted by these gonads, it regulates the sexual behavior, the reproduction, along with the brain. Whereas this testosterone is involved in making physical changes during puberty, as changes in voice, growth of facial hair, chest and pubic hair, promotes sperm production and male sexual characteristics. And estrogens are responsible for the sexual development of the female body, such as the shape of the body, the development of the breast, the female reproductive cycle. Progesterone, it is secreted during pregnancy and helps in it overall. So this is all about the important glands and the effects and the behavioral changes of the secretion of these hormones of the different glands, which are responsible for mainly all types of behaviors, mood swings, etc. And this hyposecretion, all the glands have some hyposecretion or some hypersecretion. Hypersecretion, it means excessive production of this hormone, and this hyposecretion means just the opposite. That means it refers to a medical condition in which no or little production of this hormone takes place. So today, this is the last unit of this biopsychology, and it mainly covers the all the structure and functions of the central nervous system, the neuron, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, the somatotropic nervous system, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic system, then the brain lateralization, and lastly the glands and the behavior. It includes the endocrine glands and the exocrine glands, etc. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you. So today, up to this.